Let's talk Tanya for the 14th of Sivan of a leap year. In yesterday's Tanya, we began answering the question that we had, which is, how is it that when the reality is, the truth is, that we are nothing but extensions from God, and we are being recreated by God at every single moment, how is it that we feel ourselves to be independent creations, entities, existences, when in fact we are just extensions of God subsumed in our source? So yesterday, we spoke about the name of Havaya, which creates, and the name of Elokim, which conceals. We're going to continue that conversation today. These two names of God, Havaya and Elokim, they are roughly the equivalent of God's midos, God's attributes of chesed and gevura, kindness and severity. The name of Havaya represents God's kindness. The fact that God creates, and He creates this world and all the worlds and everything that's in it, is due to God's kindness. The idea of kindness, the idea of giving. This is God giving. God is giving energy and giving life and giving existence. Gevura, strength or restraint, that is associated with the name of Elokim. That is the power that God has to conceal and constrict that energy so that we live over here and we exist over here, but we don't feel that creative energy which comes from the name of Havaya. Now, in the davening, when we praise God, we say Hakel, Hagadol, V'Hagibar. We talk about the great and the mighty God. Great, that is chesed. We talk about God's gedula, God's greatness, that is a reference to God's kindness. And the fact that God, with tremendous greatness, He creates everything that exists, and the incredible, this universe and everything within it, that is a product of God's greatness and His infinity. The fact that He has an infinite power and potential to create and to give existence and to give life. The next word, Hagibar, God's strength, that refers to the opposite. That's God's power to conceal. And in davening, we put these two together with each other, which the Alter Rebbe tells us that these two qualities that God has, His quality, His ability to create, and His ability to conceal, are on par with each other. What does that mean? The fact that God can create this universe is not something which a human being can possibly even dream of understanding. What does it mean to create something from nothing? Our sages tell us that if all the wise people in the world got together and they wanted to create a mosquito, they couldn't do it. Yes, we are busy, we're very productive and industrious, but ultimately everything we're doing is something from something. The ability to create something from nothing is something which we cannot comprehend. That is a result of God's gedula, of God's greatness, of God's chesed. And that comes from the name of Havaya. And that's a mosquito. Here we're not talking about a mosquito. We're talking about a universe with multiple worlds, physical worlds, spiritual worlds, etc. Just as we cannot possibly understand God's greatness and His ability to create, we also cannot understand God's gevura, the name of Elokim, God's ability to conceal, because it's completely mind-blowing. It makes no sense. Yes, in the human experience, we can conceal things. We can conceal physical things. We can even conceal spiritual things. I have an idea. I don't have to share it. That's called concealing. But ultimately, whenever something is concealed, that means that in the place where it is concealed from, in the place where it is being looked for, it isn't present there. That's why it is concealed. It is hidden. Over here, we have something which is incredible. God's light and creative energy is everywhere, and yet it is concealed. How is that possible? How is it possible that it's everywhere at full strength, and at the same time, we don't sense it at all? It makes no sense. But we have to understand both chesed and gevura, which means God's ability to create and God's ability to conceal, these are both God's attributes. And just as God is infinite and beyond us, His attributes also are infinite and beyond us. We don't understand how He creates. We don't understand how He conceals. So the question that we asked 2 days ago, we're not really going to have a satisfactory answer to that. We want to know, how is it that we exist and we are just extensions of God? We are within God and we sense ourselves still as independent entities. That is a product of the name of Elokim. That is a product of God's attribute of gevura, and it is infinite, and we don't understand it. In tomorrow's Tanya, we're going to take a little break for 2 days, and Alter Rebbe is going to discuss a parenthetical idea. It's parenthetical to the larger discussion. It's not parenthetical in and of itself, because everything that we've been talking about in the last few days leads us to a very big and very important question, which really impacts everything about Judaism. What that question is, we will find out in tomorrow's Tanya.